Hello everyone and welcome back to another Backlot Banter movie review. My name is Tucker Hazel, here by myself to review Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. No one here to join me, and that's a bummer because this is going to be an interesting movie to talk about as the last film in the DC Extended Universe. Aquaman was a $1 billion picture 5 years ago in this exact season, and I thought it was okay, but I was hesitant to see another one because the DC Universe has been dropping off in quality so quickly. The Flash wasn't very good. Wonder Woman 1984 wasn't very good. They don't have a good track record with sequels, except for the Suicide Squad, but yeah, who knows how to count that. But if you want to talk to me about the DCEU, this film, the other films, I have seen them all, and I'm ready to talk about it. You can join my Discord, the link is in the description, and you can comment, letting me know how this ranks among the, by my count, 17 projects in the DCEU, that is counting Peacemaker and the Snyder Cut of Justice League. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. This movie has seen development hell. It has seen James Wan not enjoying working on it. It has seen reshoots and Batman cameos that are not in the movie and post-production and delays, and it shows all of that. This is one of the worst superhero movies, and not because it does anything particularly bad, but because it decreases the engagement level with all of the just tropey nonsense that you get from superhero movies. This feels like one of the most derivative superhero films I've ever seen. There are glimmers of Thor Ragnarok in there with the villain and hero relationship, brother relationship between Loki and Thor, and then here between Orm and Arthur Curry, Aquaman. There are glimmers of Black Panther, which I guess you kind of felt in the first film, but with Arthur Curry wanting to be the King of Atlantis, but not quite sure how he's going to step up to it. There are glimmers of it's a father and son story in some ways, but what it ultimately ends up being is just every beat you could possibly imagine from another adventure movie, superhero movie, sci-fi movie, repackaged and spat out on the screen with reasonably good special effects. I think the CGI is probably one of the best elements of this, especially in the large-scale battles and the textures of Atlantis itself and the background creatures. They all look very good. But there's nothing this movie has in terms of its own identity. It tries to give Aquaman an extended chapter in his life where he has a family and he's living with Mera, kind of. We'll get to that. And he's reconnecting with Orm. But it doesn't do much with that first part. The family aspect of this film is a setup and kind of a payoff because Mera and his son Arthur Jr., I believe, show up a little bit near the end of the film, but otherwise it is him and Orm for the entire thing. So while you're watching this trailer, you're like, oh, okay, it's about him being a father and reconciling with the kingdom. No, I mean, the plot and character development of Arthur Curry as a character is non-existent. The conflict is supposed to be, obviously, Black Manta is back. He's exacting his revenge. We'll get to that. But the conflict for Arthur Curry is supposed to be, is he going to be a good king? How is he comfortable with his own personality and being a king in this scenario? And it doesn't do much with that at all. I mean, it causes like minor tension in one or two scenes at the beginning, but especially by the end of the film and for the middle chunk of the film when he's just off adventuring with Orm, it doesn't matter at all. And the payoff for all that is, again, also non-existent. It pulls kind of a Black Panther Wakanda Forever where Atlantis is revealed to the world basically exactly, or no, I guess it was in the end of the first Black Panther movie where it's revealed to the world. And okay, I mean, who really cares at the end of the day? It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things because there's no movies to follow this up on. I don't think we're ever going to see Jason Momoa as Aquaman again. So that's an unsatisfying payoff, an unsatisfying way to end the DCEU with something that not only doesn't really close his character arc because, again, the conflict of him being a king kind of gets backgrounded for so much of the film. I also just have to say that the elements of this film that are the humor really fell flat for me. The people in my theater were enjoying it. They were getting some pretty hearty chuckles out of when Arthur's telling Orm, oh, hamburgers and fries are so good. And he's like, I don't know what that is. Or there's some slapstick humor, or he'll say frick sometimes. But it's the kind of like Deadpool, self-referential, winking at the camera, not meta humor, but the kind of exact humor that people make fun of superhero movies for, where emotional moments are undercut with a joke, where a punchline or a quip come at an inopportune moment, and none of it worked for me. And it's also because It kind of wants to be edgy in the way that Deadpool is edgy, but that has a rated R rating, so he can actually lean into that stuff. But when he wants to go say the F word and it cuts out and there's like a car horn or whatever, that just kills whatever potential humor that moment has. Yeah, okay. I want to talk about the repackaged beats that this movie goes through. You think about Star Wars, think about the Guardians of the Galaxy, think about Thor, think about the first Aquaman film. You get all the highlights. You get visiting the wretched hive of scum and villainy, like the Mos Eisley Cantina and New Hope. You get land with giant creatures. We see that in plenty of adventure movies. You get the Goon's Cave, the Gooning Cave, if you will, where there's a bunch of people in dark suits are in this dark cave doing their bad guy thing. It has all the problems that you expect out of the worst of this genre. A villain with a goober that kind of doesn't make any sense, but is ham-fisted in there with a bunch of lore that bubbles up and disappears at strange times. The annoying comedy, the repetitive scenes. And for me, the thing that really, really kills this as a sequel to Aquaman, again, $1 billion picture, is that it does nothing that that first movie doesn't do. It has basically the exact same cast as that first movie. Orm comes back. Okay, he's a little bit different now because he's gone through this whole thing from the first movie and he's gone to jail and now he's released. But he's the same character and his growth is, I guess, just adapting to his brother. But I was never compelled enough by that dynamic to feel like this is something I really wanted to see. They tried to again add something with him being a father, but that is not present for the vast majority of the runtime. Black Manta, seeing his revenge, okay, that's something that was set up in the first movie, but he's not really a different character. He's just has the motivation to take revenge on Aquaman killing his father from the first movie. That's not particularly interesting. He gets the Black Trident, which is a new idea for this film, but okay, it's just a goober. It just makes him stronger. It doesn't give him super cool powers. He just is literally physically stronger. His suit hasn't changed much. There's this whole thing about the dead king from the past that is in the trident or something. And what's the point of that? I'm not very sure. I'm not sure because he comes out at the end. He comes out of his ice and then he gets killed in one hit, and it's super anticlimactic. This movie's screenplay is absolutely the dullest thing you can possibly imagine. You can just dream up the blank superhero plot. Family gets captured. Bad guy wants a thing. Bad guy wants to end the world. Main character has family conflict. These are all things we've seen done 30 times before, even in the DCEU, and done better. The first film was at least original because it gave us a look at Atlantis and this underwater place that we've now seen done multiple times in live action sense. In the last year, we've gotten Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Avatar: The Way of Water, and The Little Mermaid, and they all do about the same. Well, I mean, Black Panther, and it goes in order of underwater rankings. Obviously, Way of Water, fantastic, one of my favorite movies of all time, one of the best movies of last year. That does that perfectly. Wakanda Forever, in the way that it ties into Wakanda, and it has a sort of a darker tone to it. That's not great, but it's reasonably good. I would say this is probably better than Little Mermaid, just that I had seen Atlantis before, and this was just getting to see that again. But then, of course, there's Little Mermaid at the bottom. But this does nothing that Way of Water and Wakanda Forever didn't do, and that Aquaman didn't do. And so when you're thinking about the DCEU, this is just like a wart on the end of Aquaman. Okay, he reconnects with his brother. Okay, he has a son now. Okay, Black Manta's revenge quest is finished, but none of those are compelling enough to warrant a sequel. This is the samiest sequel I've ever seen for the superhero genre, and that is saying something. There are so many boring, stupid sequels to superhero movies, but this just hits all the same beats. Goes to the desert, it's dry, makes some jokes about it being dry, great. Be on a boat for a little bit, great. It really is a useless movie. Just go watch Aquaman again. It's a more original, better scripted film. And frankly, Orm the Ocean Master, even though he's not great in that first movie, though Patrick Wilson, I will say, is probably the best performer in this film. He's delivering some lines with a sense of sincerity, at least. And Jason Momoa is doing his thing, and he's good at it, but it's not fantastic. He was a better villain than Black Manta was in this. And I love Black Manta. He's one of my favorite DC villains, but they just don't do him justice in this film because even though he's the main antagonist, he's not around for a ton of it. And they also introduced Randall Park. He might have been the first one, I'm not really sure. And Randall Park is just there to be kind of a mole or turn against Black Manta. The ideas that this movie tries to set up as its own ideas, it doesn't even play with almost at all. And so I have to say this is one of the worst movies of the year. I think it's one of the worst movies in DCEU, which has a bunch of really, really, really bad 3 out of 10, 4 out of 10 entries. Like, as I said earlier, Wonder Woman 1984. I actually kind of like The Flash, so that's not on my list. But Shazam! Fury of the Gods is bad. Black Adam is atrociously terrible. Suicide Squad. And this joins those. Because it's just the same movie again, but worse. And so I'm going to give this a 3.2 out of 10. Some totally solid VFX and an okay performance from Patrick Wilson is all this movie has going for it. It ends on a flat note. It's flat all the way through. My brother fell asleep in it. The only good thing that came out of this movie was some of the other people in the theater were having a laugh. But I can't recommend this movie in good conscience. This is the most rote, repetitive, unnecessary, useless superhero movie I've seen. And again, that says something. So if you disagree with me, I'd love to hear why. But I hope this movie doesn't make any money. I hope that the DCU, James Gunn's version, is better. But this is a fart to go out on. And one of the worst entries in this decade-long failure of an extended universe.